What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Your Story. We're out here right now in Ephrata. Did I get it right?
You said it right.
Nice, Ephrata at Bill the Buffman's. We're here with Bill Quinn and his daughter Shae. This is another great story that we have a pleasure to be able to tell and share with you guys, and be able to share with the whole community as well. Because Bill's got a great story, and obviously being able to work in the same building under the same roof with your wife and Shae has got to be pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, so why don't you guys give a little bit of background about yourselves and kind of where we are today?
I started my detailing career when I was 13. The very first car that I actually worked on was Fred Meyer of Fred Meyer Stores.
Oh, wow.
And we used an Orbital back then, and it was like $35 to polish a car. And at the end of the detail, he gave us a $1 tip and ripped it in half. He said, there's one for you and one for my buddy. He said, now you'll be friends for life. So that was the first car that I ever did, actually detailed when I was 13. Since then, I've had many opportunities throughout the corporate world of working with different companies. In 2010, we decided to take the business and run with it full time because of the market, what the economy was doing. So we started the business in 1990, but we went full time in 2010.
Wow. So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah, it's been a journey. We started out part time, with a little mobile trailer, a little car, and then we kind of just slowly bought things as we went. We paid cash because we didn't want any debt. So we just slowly built the company. And 10 years ago, when we decided to go full time, I asked Shae to see if she wanted to join us. She started detailing when she was pretty much the same age, 13, doing interiors and stuff. And we asked her to join the company, and then the rest is history there. I mean, she runs the detail shop. I'm here just to bother her, I guess. I chip in where I can, but I'm pretty much the operational side, and she's the operation side.
Cool. And Shae, how is it coming into the office every day and being able to see your father there? And
It's good. It's good. No, we have a good working relationship. There's definitely been ups and downs, but for the most part, I mean, we're on the same page. We have the same goal in mind. So for the most part, I mean, I couldn't really imagine doing anything else. There's nowhere else that I would want to be. So no, it's nice to be able to see, my parents as often as I get to, and, do this cool thing that we do.
that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And how was it 10 years ago when you decided, I guess in 2010, what was the conversation? Oh, Shae's got a good one here.
Well,
Are you ready for this? Answer wisely.
I went from a really good paying job with lots of vacation time. It worked a lot of hours, probably 70, 80 hours a week, to no job. And so I took a month off pretty much, and my wife said, well, you need to figure it out. And so we kind of had a direction where we're going. So I just started detailing cars. I got our mobile trailer out, and I bought a brand new truck with a little bit of my 401k money, and we were traveling around Grant County, 60-mile radius, doing any job we could. We were working 7 days a week, sometimes 10, 12 hours a day. I knew how much money I had to make every day to make my bills, because the last thing I was going to do is not go backwards. So I knew exactly what I needed to make every day, and if I didn't make it that day, then it went over to the next day, and then it went over to the next day. And I was very fortunate, not only with the people that I know and the people that know me, I was able to stay fairly consistent and make the money that I needed, but the profits weren't there. I was making money, but I was spending money to make money. And in the beginning, it was a necessity, but there was really nobody. I didn't have a mentor at that time. It was me. It was my wife. When Shae came into the picture, we were kind of on the cusp of, we started detailing out of my garage at home, and the customers were complaining because, I spent all that money on a detail, and now I got to drive down a gravel road to get my car out. So we knew that wasn't a good fix. And then we saw a shop pop up here locally where there was a previous detailer in. And so I immediately honed in on that. We got it, and we spent 5 years in that one facility. So yeah, it didn't happen overnight. There was a lot of struggles, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tears, a lot of frustration. But you just got to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And Shae, speaking of mentors too, has your father been a mentor to you? And
Oh, absolutely. And not just in detailing. I mean, obviously he's my dad, but throughout the years, there's been all kinds of things that have come up that, he's really kind of helped me through them and helped me gain a bigger insight, on the bigger picture. The detailing, like you said, I started really young, and I didn't really agree with the fact that I had to go and do these things. And it was kind of always an argument, because they were really early mornings on the weekends, and we'd go and do these big fleet details, and I thought that it was child abuse. It was terrible. And I remember my parents used to always say, someday this is going to be all yours. And I'm like, I don't want it. And then, over the years, it turned into a way that, through high school, and then even when I was in college and I had my first son, it was always something that if I needed, extra funds, or if I was struggling, it was always something that was there that I knew, and it was a trade that I could do to fall back on. So yeah, he's helped and mentored in a lot of different areas.
are you starting to have that conversation with your son now, being like, hey man, this is going to be yours all
No,
one day?
we've been dragging him down here. This is all summer. He's been here. He shows up to work when I show up at work, and he's had a little tent and a table out in the parking lot, and he's doing sales out there and selling products and towels, and he'll come in and he helps with, wheels and tires and washing and drying and all kinds of things. So he's starting to work his way into it.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
He has a better attitude than I had about it.
I think you can probably see it. I mean, understandably.
Yeah.
Look what you guys have built over the last 10 years versus just jumping into an idea.
Yeah.
And Bill, I mean, you started detailing at the age of 13. Were you into cars at a young age, or was it something you just fell into?
I've always been into cars. My dad, when I was really young, he used to race dragsters for Connie Coletta. So that was kind of my first niche of feeling the need for speed, because I got to see the cars. He brought them home. I got to see him race them. And then after that, I've been involved in the racing side of it. I've attended a lot of races. That's where I got the bug. As far as the detailing side, I think that just came ingrained with it, because you always had to have certain, as a mechanic and watching these guys work on their race cars, everything was always clean. And then as a kid, I cleaned my bikes, cleaned the spokes and kept everything clean. It's like I was telling you guys the other night, I like taking, just a real turd and turn it into something good. And I did that with my first car. It was just, it was a '65 Falcon wagon. It was just beat. But it was probably the cleanest, polished, beat up car around, including the chrome wheels and everything. So, yeah, it's just been. I've always loved doing it. It's my passion. The older I get, the tougher it gets, body-wise and physical-wise. But it's something that I'll probably do for the rest of my life. Even looking forward now. 65 and going into 70, I was talking to my wife last week. I said, even if we decide to say go south for a few months and live down there, wherever we are, I'm still going to detail cars. I'll still look at making a few $100 there, just something to keep me busy. Because the last thing I want to do is just sit around and wait for time to go by. I want to do as much as I can in the life that I have.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's been with the business. Is I don't think I've ever really laid back and felt that I was good enough, or that our company was good enough. Me inside, the second that you feel that you're good enough, you're going to be passed up by everybody else. So I've always, she doesn't really enjoy the change as much as I do, so I try to be really subtle about it. But I'm always thinking about something, the next thing, what can we do? But I also want to stay in our lane. And that, she's forced me to stay in my lane, just because, she's my business partner, but she's also my daughter. And so I can tell when I'm going off track and I need to bounce back into my lane and stay focused on what we have. And I think that's probably been at least since we've moved in here, that's been the best part of our growth, is because we've stayed in our lane. We haven't gone to the left or to the right. We've stayed focused, and we've continued to grow the business just organically. Yeah. It just happens. It just happens.
Wow. And Shae, what were some of those conversations like with your dad, where he kind of was trying to veer you a little bit the wrong way, or trying to bring something else on board that you weren't 100% like? How did you guys come to some middle ground?
He, there's just some things that sound like really good ideas right out of the gate, but it's something brand new. So I am a little bit more reserved sometimes, where my dad's like, he wants to be the trendsetter, and he wants to be and have that brand new thing in his shop first. And sometimes I have to tell him, like, why don't we let's wait. Let's let a couple of other people do it first and see how it works out for them. And then we can bring that thing on, because it turns, I'm more reserved about the investments of the company, where my dad's like, no, it's going to be great ROI. And he goes full bore on it. And I'm like, but that would really suck if it failed. So why don't we just take a step back, wait a minute, see what is really real,
We've had a few flops.
Yeah, what are a couple? Because as any business owner, especially the people that are going to be watching this, failure is something that a lot of people don't talk about.
Right. Yeah.
But it's probably the most important by far, because that's obviously how you learn.
Absolutely. And you can't be afraid of failure. I mean, you're a little bit afraid of failure, but you can't let fear drive your business and what you do in your business. And we definitely don't do that. But we, make more conscious decisions. We take a little bit more time to think about the things that we're going to bring in and take on and make those changes. And there's been really, really good changes, and there's been changes where, you change back because it's just not the way. So
Having all the facilities, that was really painful. I mean, our growth, we went from just our shop at home, which was a very nice shop, to our small 1,200 foot one, and then we were growing so quickly that we were leasing. We had a shop in Moses Lake. We had a shop 2 doors down from our original shop, and we had the mobile unit. We had all these things going at once, and it was painful. It was painful.
How so?
Just we were spread too thin. We were spread too thin. People were just asking too much, and we're having a hard way trying to figure out how to do it all. But we were enjoying the growth, but trying to accomplish and make everybody happy was tough. And then we brought on another company that came in and talked to us. It was called Smart Start. It's what do they call them?
Ignition interlock. We were contracting for them.
Yeah.
What is it?
Ignition interlock.
Okay.
So we were installing those, and we felt that we had the knowledge to do it. And based on the discussions that we had with the company, we brought them on. And there was some other people that I'd talked to within the detail mafia that also do it. And they felt it was good for them, so we brought it on. And we didn't realize the amount of detail of the wiring that you had to do. I mean, in some cases, we had to tear apart cars to install these things.
Wow.
And it was the worst decision that we've ever made business-wise. Because we had to put up with unruly customers. They were mad because they had it in their car, or that we were installing it. They had to come in once a month for calibration, and they had to pay for it. And the profit wasn't there. What they said that we would get versus what we actually got was we were paying to do the service, basically.
Yeah.
So that was, I would say, out of all the decisions that we've made as a company, that was probably the most painful one that we learned from.
And how did you handle those clients when they would come back in? Because it's never happy when you miss something that you've spent 20 hours on, and they're picking out something that would have taken you an extra 5 minutes. So how do you handle clients that kind of are?
I've always worked in some form of customer service, customer relations. I worked in the restaurant industry, food service industry for years, worked in bars. So the one-on-one contact with people has always come really, really naturally to me, whether they're upset or happy or frustrated. I've always been really good at talking people down from a ledge. And the number one way that you get people to go go from, really, really high frustrations is just relating to them and knowing I'd be upset if I was in your shoes too. So how are we going to fix this? What can I do for you to make this better? Because there's a solution. We have to come to that solution together. And here that's always been, it's worked really, really well, is just being able to relate to your customer, find out what the root of the problem is, because sometimes people get upset and it doesn't have anything to do with the job that you did, the service that you provided. It has nothing to do with any of it. They're upset. You're an outlet for some really silly thing.
Sure.
So just to go off of what you said, I think that's been the major asset of our company is the customer service that we provide. We provide a service, and anybody can go and get that service. But Shae is the person that they see when they walk in the front door. She's the voice. She's the one who talks to them, and I hear so much about her. They used to come in and talk to me, but now they talk to her, and I'm just kind of here. But I think that's one of our secret weapons as far as our competition is they don't know the level of customer service that we give. And she takes the time. She'll sit there and talk to a customer that's having a bad day. She'll take the time and talk to them for an hour. But they're a customer, and they come back, and that's part of our service.
Do you remember when a client came up to you or a customer came up to you when Shae wasn't there and just had a conversation with you about maybe that first time that she had spent an hour with them? Do you remember that feeling that you got from that?
Yeah, it's she has the gift that I don't. I have the business side. I can very easily rip somebody apart, but as far as the compassionate and the side that she has, I'm learning that. And over the years, I've been learning that, and just like she said, this morning, is I'm getting softer with age, and I think that's something that you learn because both of my parents were very, they were Marines. They were both Marines. They were very tough, very strict, and that was my upbringing. That's how I learned. And so if I had, I've had customer interactions where I said, get out of my business, because they were being unruly. We've had a few of them, but Shae on the other side, I mean, she talks to them differently than I do, and that's her gift. That's her gift. I don't have that gift. It's something that I have to learn. It's something that she has naturally.
And having two Marine parents growing up, I can only imagine the level of detail that they had.
Yeah, it was pretty strict, and I love them for it, and, because it helped me as a man. But I tell you, learning that and living it was tough as a kid. Yeah. I mean, she got first wind of it when her and her mom, and I first started dating. Then we moved in, several years later, and it only happened once. I went into her room and it wasn't to my standards, so I tossed it like my dad would toss my room. And Grandma came over and said, "You ever do that again, and you're in trouble." And that was the last time that happened.
So you learned a lesson that day too.
Yeah, it wasn't Mom, it was Grandma, because we all lived close to one another. There was Grandma, and then there was like an uncle, and then there was us, and then there was another uncle on this farm. So she caught wind of it, and she kind of gave me the speech that's not the direction you want to go in this family.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was the last time.
And how was it when you met your wife and Shae's mother, and you basically took on two people in life from the start, especially a young daughter who's grown up to now be your business partner in life, and create grandchildren for you?
When I first met her mom, I didn't like her.
Who, Shae or the mom?
No, the mom.
I was pretty rough around the edges.
I wasn't really interested in a relationship at the time, and Lynn kind of just grew on me. So it was probably a couple months after I met her. I finally, figured, well, okay, I'll give it a shot, because I'd just been screwed over by so many women. I was just sick and tired of them. I just wanted to do my thing, and so I went and put a basket of flowers at her work, and said I want to take her out on a date. And so the rest of that is history.
That's classy.
But when I met Shae, there was no love there. It was like, you're in the wrong house. You need to leave. And same with their pet dog. It was like, dude, you're in the wrong house. You need to leave. So it took a while. It's taken a long time for that to brew.
No, I don't know. It was just kind of one of those things. We just had a lot of ups and downs, and I don't know. It was a what do they call that? You were just kind of a strong hand in my life, and I didn't have a lot of strong hands in my life, and so I didn't, really have a lot of manners and this and that. And I mean, I had manners, and my mom took very good care of me, but it was just kind of a different level of, needing to do things a certain way, and I was just like, I'm a farm kid, like, leave me alone. I
respected the place, I respected the relationship, but just like anything, it takes time to develop. It's not something that happens overnight. I was a single guy. I knew I was taking on, serious responsibilities, so I didn't take it lightly. I was either all in or I was all out, and that there was no in between. I was working at Genie. I was making, we were just talking about this the other night. I think Lynn was making, $5 an hour. I was making about $5 an hour at that time. And here we are, we've got Shae to take care of. We're now a couple. We've always kept our bills separate, where I had my bills, she had hers. Even today we do that. It just helps that way. So yeah, there was a lot of responsibility there. I knew that going into it, but it just felt right. It just felt right. And then the company I worked for at the time, Genie, the president, the owner of our company, caught wind of it, and he knew I was a real hard worker. I gave it my all the whole time. I was there. It's gonna kill me.
Here he goes.
He called me into his office, and usually the only time you got called into Bob's office is when you were either getting fired or you were in trouble. And he knew everybody in our company by first and last name. He would come out every morning, walk the manufacturing floor, hello. Drove an old Volvo, just a real down-to-earth, really pleasant guy. He calls me into his office. He said, go ahead and shut the door. And I figured, oh, geez, I'm fired. Now I got to take care of Lynn. I got to take care of Shae. What am I going to do? Because I had turned down a lot of really great jobs to go work at this company because it was in Kirkland. It was in our local city. And a lot of the guys right out of high school went to work there. I waited 7 years before I went to work there. But everybody else right out of high school went to work for Genie. He said, come on in, sit down. And he says, I kind of caught wind that you're getting married, and you have a daughter that you're bringing into your family, and I just wanted to do something for you. And he was always a real generous man, and he hands me the title to my truck. He said, I just paid your truck off. I just want to let you know that. And I think, wow, what do I say? I was in shock. And then he knew through I think it was through my boss that we were trying to buy a house. It was the first house your mom bought. Mm-hmm. And so he flips me a $5,000 check. And I mean, this is like back in the 80s, where $5,000 is a lot of money. I mean, that's a down payment on a house back then. He flipped me a $5,000 check. He said, this is for you to take care of your family. Purchase that house. So all the years I spent at Genie, I wanted to make sure when I left that I brought that into our company. The personal side of it. I didn't like the corporate side of it, but I liked the personal side of it. That's why we take care of our team. Mm-hmm. We've had many employees here that had nothing, and we helped them get a car, helped them get a house. We've helped them just numerous things. And that part of me will never go away. I'll always do that till the day I die. But that's one thing that, from a very young age and becoming a young adult and a young man, getting involved into a family, with Shae, because she was just a tiny little thing at the time. It was just a lot of responsibility. And so that kind of started the journey. Wow. Yeah.
Now, did he change? Legacy is a big part of kind of the stories that we're telling and receiving on this whole your story path that we're taking. Is that your main part of your legacy right there that you want to leave?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I just want to be remembered as a guy that gave his all. I give everything 100%. I've always had the thought process that if you don't give it 100%, then why are you doing it? Or why are you doing it? If you're not going to give it your all, then why do it? So I do that with basically everything I do. Does it work every time? No, it doesn't. But that's my thought process with whatever I do. It's 100% or nothing. And that, I guess, when I leave here, that's what I mean. There's many things that I would like to do, but I would guess if I'm remembered for one thing is that I gave it my all, I gave it my best shot, and I had a freaking blast doing it, without a doubt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of legacy as well, I know Michael had a talk with you about the Adobe Roads wine. So you want to speak of Redline and exactly the story that he shared with you?
This is incredible. I mean, this guy, is a race car driver. He built a vineyard. He built a wine around the race car methods and just the different aspects of racing. This bottle here is Redline, and Mike gave this to me because he knows that everything I do, I go full bore. I basically redline. It's an honor. It's an honor to have it. Shae knows it. I'm sure she's going to want to enjoy drinking it, but I think we're going to let it brew for a little bit. Just like the other bottles that we have in the office that she keeps on saying, "Dad, is it time yet?" We'll figure out when it's time, but it's truly an honor to have this wine. He also has other ones, Shift and Apex and 24, I believe. Yep. So yeah, it's truly an honor to have this. It represents who I am, and it represents our company because that's what we do. We push it. We push it to the red line.
I love it. Awesome. Well, let's speak of your Corona too. Why do you choose Corona as your drink of choice today? Just because it's damn good?
It's a good beer, and we're right in the middle of a COVID Corona pandemic. So why not drink Corona?
Cool. That's great. Well, cheers, guys. Cheers to that. So one thing I got to point out. You want me to take that? Yeah. One thing I want to point out is going from corporate world to owning your own company. You got to talk about how you basically 365 days a year in shorts and sandals.
Well, that was
even during working
yeah,
hours.
But that was the one promise I made to myself, because when I worked for Safeway, I had to wear a tie. And so when I left Safeway, I'll never wear a tie again. And to this day, I don't think I've ever wore a tie, except for maybe to your mom's wedding. And so when I left Jeannie after 24 years of wearing steel toes and jeans, and I walked out of there and I told myself I would never wear pants again, and I would never wear steel-toed shoes again. And so I'm a flip-flop, Birkenstock kind of guy, tennis shoes. I wear shirts 24/7. Doesn't matter what the temperature is. If it gets really cold, maybe minus 20 with the blowing wind, I might put on a pair of sweats.
Maybe? That seems like a death.
It's bananas. It'll be 15 degrees outside, and he'll come in wearing shorts, and customers walk in, and they're like, "What is wrong with you?" He's like, "Oh, it feels fine to me."
Just my dad.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of like a rite of passage to me. It's a beautiful thing being able to wear shorts and know that I don't have to wear pants.
Yeah, it is. That's great. Well, I respect the hell out of that because I don't know how I could detail a car in sandals, but I've always wanted to. I remember working out of my mom's garage, and that's, clients weren't there. They didn't really see their production. I even had to go pick up cars. So I'd go pick them up, bring it back, and I could wear whatever I wanted, And now it's changed a little bit, but even then, the I guess you call it uniform is still extremely laid back and relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the corporate world was tough. It was 70, 80 hours a week, 5, 6, 7 days a week. I wore a blueberry on my hip or blackberry on my hip.
Good old blackberry.
Yeah, good old blackberry. Lots of traveling. Sometimes I was on the road, 2 to 3 weeks out of a month. It was. I didn't realize how difficult that job was until after I left, and then it was like, geez, why did I wait so long? Because owning my own business has always been a dream. It's always been a dream. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I just didn't know how to take that leap. And when the market crashed in 2000, what was it, 2010, 2009, 2010, it forced me into that arena to where I had to learn very quickly. I had to, just put as much information into my brain and learn extremely fast. But I was able to take a lot of what I learned in the corporate world and bring it into the business, which I think a lot of people that start businesses don't have the opportunity or the education to do that. They just look at, I can go detail cars, I can make money, and and they see all this money coming into their checking account, and they're buying toys, and then Uncle Sam comes over and knocks on the door, and the IRS comes over and knocks on the door, and then you got to figure out, well, yeah, now I have to pay taxes on all that money. So that was, it was a learning curve all the way through. But being in the corporate world and being able to bring that into the business made it a lot easier. I'm not saying it was easy, but it was easier.
Yeah, that's a great point. Especially starting a business and just like you said, having, doing it on the weekends, making 20, 30, 40 bucks a car, and then taking it to this full-time position where you're starting to get booked up and, word of mouth, which I know has been a massive part of all the businesses here on the word of mouth side. So one point I want to hit on, because I know we were talking about it last night, well, other than you basically breaking every single bone in your body, and, being a wild child until Luke gave you the picture, until you put it away. Right. Quality of life is extremely important to you.
It is. It is, and it's not something that I learned overnight. I would say probably in the last 5 years, it's really become a part of my life. With Shae, Shae works here, and she works her ass off, but then she goes home and she does it all over again. She has a family. She's taking care of the house, cooking the meals, doing everything that a mom does, and she's a young mom. So we had this conversation just the other day of taking every job that we could get, taking every appointment and really not letting anything float by. But then me as her dad and the business owner, I could start seeing the struggles of quality was probably part of it, but just being tired and not being happy. And today with the hours that we work, it's a full day. It's a full day, but it's not an overwhelming day. And we can leave here less tired to go home to be with our families and then get up the next day and do it over again. We just level loaded our schedule. And that's been hard for the both of us. I know what the schedule is to me, but Shae takes care of the schedule. She takes care of the customers, and she's done a fabulous job, especially coming into this year. We've learned every year of what not to do or what we could have done better. And I think we're to that point now to where the company is doing very well. We're able to live our life here and then also live our life outside of here. And we're very fortunate to do that, but it takes a lot of work to get there. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, but you're working 8 to 5 typically, Monday through Friday, right. Weekends off, right? You get to go home, just like you said, spend time with your kids, go eat a steak and watch a football game and what it might be. And that's a great point to take home. And I've obviously learned a lot, from speaking with you about it last night. That quality of life is especially when you're in such a rapid pace and your company's going through the roof and you start other opportunities, like 6 other companies, and you put people in the place. It's quality of life and family, and your work, it becomes basically 2 cars head on, and to just slow down and relax and realize that it's not about growing the business. Somewhat, but it's about family first.
To be able to have both and manage both, and be able to succeed at both is kind of like the pinnacle to me, I would guess. How do you feel versus like a year ago when we were just 2 years ago when we were just doing 5-6 cars a day, working from, we would get here, especially during the summer, we would get here, 5-6 o'clock in the morning, start washing everything, spend all day, just getting it done and walking out of here kind of really not loving life. So we've made it happen.
It's beautiful.
It's a balance. It's a struggle to balance it. It's a struggle to balance it, but Everything goes by really, really quickly. Business, the years go by quickly. Family, the years go by really quickly. So if you don't, find that balance, it's going to go by quick no matter what. So, find it and stick with it.
Yeah, my mom always said that at a young age. She's like, "Oh, you guys are growing up so quick."
It goes really quick.
Yeah, and I mean, you as a mother now can understand, and I never understood it until I kind of got into my adult years or young adult years, and that's when I really realized, oh man, this is flying by.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's already been 3 years. From basically jumping out of a garage. It feels like yesterday. It just goes.
Well, it's like this is our
no
fourth year
what.
here in this shop.
Yeah.
And it just seems like it was yesterday.
That's great. Well, speaking of hard work, there's something really cool that you've been able to put your hands on and being part of the detail mafia. If you're a master as well, and working on Air Force One and some of these other incredible aircraft. Can you speak of that experience?
It's boy, I tell you, it's an opportunity of a lifetime because there's only been so many companies and so many people that have touched these planes, and you can pretty much number them. It's not, you can't just walk in there and do what we do and every day. You can go in and see the planes, but even when we've gone in and spent 6-7 days there, 14 hours a day cleaning these planes, and then we leave, and then I come back and I see a spot on the plane and I step over the boundary, I don't care if you were here last week, you're on the other side now. But being able to touch these planes, they're history. It's our history. They're priceless planes. You really can't put a price on them. Air Force One is probably the most prestigious plane out of all of them. The B-29 is an incredible machine. A lot of stories, just like I was telling you last night, on the inside of these planes, there's a lot of hidden secrets that the public doesn't get to see. You see the writings, you see the pilots signing them, you see the little snippets of stories saying, tell my mom. You just get to see all these things and you get to feel it. Going inside these planes, you get to smell it. You're smelling history, you're smelling life, you're smelling death. Because some of these planes were in pieces and they put them back together. So to have the opportunity, not only being part of the detail mafia, but also being able to go and touch these planes, it's just incredible. It's really hard to put into words because it's in here. I mean, we don't get paid to do it. We donate our time. It costs us money to do it because I'm away from the shop. I put more stress on her because I'm not here. And I take my trailer. We're over there for a full week. We start on a Sunday. We go home on a Sunday. And the amount of planes that we touch every year has gone up. I think the first year was like 12, and then last year it was, I think it was close to 20 planes, and then they brought in a B-52 bomber, redid the whole thing. We cleaned the whole outside, and you're sitting there looking at these walls of people that served on these planes, died on these planes, and then a lot of times while you're working on these planes, because we're doing it during open public time, there's people that are standing there watching what you do, or they'll come over and ask a question, or they'll tell you a story. And they'll tell you a story about their time on that plane, or how they worked on that plane, or how they flew the plane. And you get to see the real personal side, both positive and, you have some people that cry because they're memories. You have people that come in there to view the museum, but you also have people that are coming in there that are reminiscing their life that's gone by and what they did as part of it, as part of the planes. Kennedy's plane is it's just, you smell it. You can smell the history. You can watch videos on TV of where his casket was put into the front door. You can read the stories of the emotions that went onto the plane, the things that were talked about. Henry Kissinger on the plane. I mean, that's just something to have the honor to touch these planes and preserve them for the rest of the world and moving forward is an opportunity that not many people get.
Wow. And is there a story or something that you read or something you were able to touch that resonated with you when you're being there working on all these planes or meeting, some of the people that were on them or flew in them?
Last year there was a gentleman that I was working on a plane, two planes. I think I was working on the Concorde, and Randy came over to me. He said, "Dude, come here. I want you to check this guy out," because you see people walk through the facility in their service outfits, military, because a lot of the aircraft there is military. The Blue Angel that we did, military. I mean, we had a guy come up and approach us when we were there about his plane. And this was a smaller gentleman. He had a B-29 leather jacket on, cap, and so we took the time to listen to his story. And his story was absolutely amazing, because minutes before that, or about an hour before that, I was walking through the plane, and I'm not a small guy, and these planes are really compact inside. They're very, very tight, and I got to go in. I got to sit in the co-pilot, in the nose gunner seat. And then I walked out and met him and listened to his story. And he was one of the pilots that flew several missions over to Europe, bombing missions. He was, I think, one of the only pilots that made it back on several missions. He was never shot down. And his last flight, I think there was 45 planes that went over, and there was only a handful that came back. And when he landed, he counted over 300 rounds in his plane.
Wow.
Holes,
basically.
It's chilling. And then the plane that they have at the museum, on the outside, it looks pretty good. I mean, they've done a great job on preserving it. But on the inside, you can see where the damage was, where the bullets had gone through, where they had patched it. It's pretty chilling.
And that was his plane?
That wasn't his exact plane, but that was one of the planes that he had flown.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, one question that I had to ask you both too is kind of the journey that's brought you here today, 30 years now. Well, actually, technically, almost 50 for you. And Shae, obviously coming in and working with your dad. What's next for you guys? What's kind of the next step that you guys are looking to make?
What do you say, boss lady?
Right?
Boss lady.
The next step we are looking to make.
Shae the Buff Bay.
I'd really like to just kind of overall kind of change the dynamic of our shop, because it's starting to change itself. We're starting to see a lot less of cars that have been sitting in fields for years, and they're like really crazy mom minivans and things like that. And we're starting to see a lot more in-depth details come in. And I'd really like to see and hope that we can continue to push our business in that direction. It just seems like we're becoming better known for the multi-step paint corrections, for the ceramic coatings, and the classic cars. And, over the years, the classic cars and customs and things like that, it's really built itself. So I'm starting to see the business shift in that direction, and that's kind of where I'd like to start focusing, what we're educating people on, and kind of pulling the business in to start going in that direction. That's what I'd like to see us do next.
You're a agreeance, Dad?
Yeah, retirement for me.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do with retirement?
he's never retiring.
You just said you're gonna work
He's
forever.
never retiring. I'm gonna have to change the locks and the security code. Yeah.
She's right on target. I mean, we went from a production shop, quantity shop, just pushing cars through. Over the years, we've really built an awesome clientele through what Shae has done with her customer service, and just the work that she does on cars is impeccable. She's better than I am. When I started buffing, it was a Makita buffer, wool pad, and a couple different liquids. I mean, she has all the industry's best to offer in this shop, and I'm sure things are going to change. They change all the time, as you know.
Yeah.
She's right on target as far as the direction we want to go. We're not going to be a quantity shop. We want to be a quality shop and give the best customer service at the best price with the best product. And that's my focus, is making sure that we have that, and that I fix everything that they break. And
Nice.
That's
The full time.
That's
we got
that's the
tripod
most
down.
that's the
we're
most
gonna need some duct
important
tape.
job here.
It's getting less and less, but I see myself venturing out over the next 5 to 10 years, so it's like I was telling you today. I'll probably always detail a car because it's just something that I enjoy to do, whether it's mine or somebody else's. I think that's probably something that I'll always do until I can't or don't want to. There's going to be that morning that I'm going to wake up and I know that my life is going to change that day, and I'll let her know when that happens.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, Shae, thank you so much for opening up today and allowing us to hear your story.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Avens family and your Able for allowing us to do this.
Yes.
As always, go onto their website, like, subscribe, click on the 30-day trial, and as always, keep shining. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.